An Aprilia gets married, a Yamaha explodes, and Pedro Acosta may not know what the word happy means. This is all the sauce. Welcome to All the Sauce, where we read the motorcycle news so you can simply watch it. Here's what you need to know for February 5th, 2026. Marco Bezzecchi will remain at Aprilia until at least the end of the 2028 MotoGP season after signing a brand new 2-year deal with the Italian manufacturer. The announcement was accompanied by an iconic social media post showing Bezzecchi and his Aprilia machine, her name is Albarossa, by the way, walking down the aisle and exchanging vows. The event was filled with smiles, laughs, and even a few tears as Bez, decked out in a set of tuxedo racing leathers, placed a ring on Albarossa's handlebars. Anyway, joining the pair as bike and rider. This post was a follow-up to Bez proposing to the bike at the end of last season, and apparently she said yes. With 3 Grand Prix victories, 3 sprint wins, 15 podiums, and 5 pole positions in his first season with Aprilia, Bezzecchi is already the most successful rider in the Italian team's MotoGP history, and should be a dark horse for the MotoGP championship this season after finishing 3rd last year. Aprilia's announcement made no mention of Jorge Martin's status, who has been linked heavily with a move to Yamaha. Yamaha Motor Europe announces the return of Yamaha Racing Experience for 2026, which will take place on June 18th and 19th at the Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli. The annual event gives R-Series owners the chance to ride their own machines alongside some of Yamaha's biggest racing stars. And if someone wants to comp me a ticket for this one, I wouldn't exactly say no. Across 2 days of track action, participants enjoy unparalleled access to meet, learn from, and ride alongside their racing idols from the global racing stage. The event will feature the Patamaxis Yamaha World Superbike official team with Andrea Locatelli and Xavi Vierge, alongside Australian Remy Gardner and the 2025 World Supersport champion Stefano Manzi. A host of high-profile star and VIP guests are expected to attend, with previous editions welcoming the likes of Valentino Rossi and Toprak Razgatlioglu, with further announcements set to be made in the build-up. Places are limited and open to the owners of Yamaha's R-Series collection, R1M, R1, R9, R7, and R6. Spots are available on a first-come, first-served basis, so head over to yamaha-motor.eu to book your spot. French manufacturer Furrion has revealed the M2, a 2-wheel drive hybrid motorcycle prototype based on the Yamaha MT-07. Now, the gasoline twin continues to drive the rear wheel, while an electric motor integrated into the front hub provides additional drive, creating an all-wheel drive system intended to improve efficiency and stability. The M2 uses Furrion's Eversource system to manage the power distribution and torque between front and rear wheels in real time. The company says the system improves traction during acceleration and allows for increased energy recovery under braking. The technology can also be adapted for fully electric motorcycles using dual motors. Furrion also plans to introduce its own production motorcycle, a small batch premium model called the F1. The model will be produced at a rate of about 100 units per year and demonstrate the capabilities of the Eversource technology outside of a prototype machine. So will we ever see this in the US? I doubt it. But Furrion's plans seem to lean less toward making global production motorcycles and instead aims at licensing their technology to the biggest manufacturers. Their CEO was quoted as saying, "We have designed Eversource to bring back real riding sensation while solving the range equation. Our technology is now completed, track tested, and protected by international patents. It is intended to become a standard for global industry through licensing agreements." The FIM Racing Motorcycle Museum will officially open to the public on Wednesday, February 18th, 2026, following its inauguration during the 2025 FIM Awards ceremony last December. Located at the former FIM headquarters in Switzerland, the museum traces the history of motorcycle racing from its earliest days to the modern era. All of the bikes on display feature verified race history, including the 1949 AJS Porcupine ridden by Leslie Graham to the first 500cc Grand Prix title, Mike Halewood's 1967 Honda, and Jonathan Ray's 2016 Kawasaki. Off-road racing is also well represented, with machines spanning everything from Dakar-winning race bikes to the Zeta DT 450 RS used by Francesco Cecchini to win the 2019 Flat Track World Championship. The collection extends into the present day with the 25 World Championship winning bikes from both Marc Marquez and Toprak Razgatlioglu. The museum is organized around 3 themes: heroes, technologies, and from race to road. highlighting how racing innovations have shaped production motorcycles. Additional features include a paddock cafe and a simulator zone offering virtual motocross and circuit racing experiences. The MotoGP paddock wrapped up 3 days of testing in Malaysia at the Sepang International Circuit, and the test gave us a little bit of everything: speed, stress, and swamp ass. Oh yeah, and the stark reminder that Ducati is still very, very good at this. But let's start with Yamaha, because most of the headlines were coming out of their garage while smoke was coming out of their engine. Now, a lot has been made of the new Yamaha V4 and whether or not they can finally find the missing horsepower the team has lacked over the past few seasons. Now, I don't think anyone in the paddock was expecting them to come to the test and set lap records, but they were hoping for some amount of progress. Unfortunately, 2026 is off to a rough start. Day 1 saw Fabio Quartararo have a fast crash and suffer an injury to his right hand. He was able to finish the day, but ultimately decided to sit out the final 2 days as a precaution. Then, just to make things even a bit more challenging than they should otherwise be, an undisclosed mechanical issue had Yamaha shutting down the entire testing program on day 2, with all riders and bikes waiting to hear from engineers in Japan and Italy on whether or not they could continue at all. The team did manage to make it back out on track for day 3, but probably with a few more gray hairs than what they started with. At the end of play, Alex Rins was the fastest Yamaha in 12th, Jack Miller in 17th, and rookie Toprak Razgatlioglu in 18th, just 2/10 behind the Australian. Honda, on the other hand, left Sepang feeling pretty good about life. Joan Mir topped day 2 of the test, and by the end of the entire thing landed 9th overall on the combined times, which may not sound like something to run home and tell grandma about, but if you take into consideration where this team was just 2 seasons ago at this very test, that's real progress. Over at Aprilia, it was all smiles for Marco Bezzecchi. With Jorge Martin still recovering from a recent surgery, Bez was once again the lone wolf for the Italian brand, and he showed up in a big way. Fresh off the new contract, Bez dropped the second fastest time of the entire test, and did so late in the session as track conditions were hotter and slicker than ever. And the good news didn't stop there. Trackhouse's Ralph Fernandez finished 7th overall, giving Aprilia 2 bikes in the top 10 at a track they haven't been particularly fast at over the years. And then there's Ducati, doing Ducati things. Marc Marquez topped day 1 without too much drama, casually putting 2/10 between him and the rest of the field. But by the end of the test, it was Alex Marquez on the Gresini Ducati who walked away with the fastest overall time, and VR46's Fabio Di Giannantonio finishing as the second fastest Ducati. When the dust settled and the Vino had been uncorked in Borgio Panigale, 5 of the top 6 places were to Ducati, with Bezzecchi being the only lone outsider. And that 6th Ducati, he wasn't even there. Firmin Aldeguer sat out the test due to injury. And finally, KTM's Pedro Acosta was positive and complimentary about the week's test and the bike's performance, informing the media he was very happy, then promptly scored the week's 6 out of 10. And now we venture into the motorcycle rumor mill with a segment I like to call Throttle Sauce Paddock Talk. In past weeks, we already talked about rumors linking KTM's Pedro Acosta to a seat at factory Ducati and Yamaha's Fabio Quartararo to factory Honda for 2027. Well, the rumors just keep on coming. So I wanted to try to make sense of this MotoGP musical chairs for anyone that may be confused. Starting with Marc Marquez, who will most likely stay at Ducati, with both sides saying they are very close to a deal, and Ducati claiming that signing Marc is their number 1 priority. Now, if rumors are to be true, we'd see Pedro slot into that spot next to him. So what happens to Pecco Bagnaia? Well, Pecco says he has factory offers in hand, and the smart money has him joining fellow VR46 chum Marco Bezzecchi at factory Aprilia. All right, what does that do to Jorge Martin? Rumors have him going to Yamaha to replace Quartararo, who is linked to that factory Honda squad. And Yamaha is another potential landing spot for Pecco Bagnaia, which would see him team up with Jorge Martin, a pairing we thought we were going to get in 2025 until Marquez crashed the party. So then, who goes to factory Aprilia? Ralph Fernandez, Moto2's Manu Gonzalez, who impressed at the Trackhouse Aprilia in the test last season? What about Alex Marquez? He deserves a factory seat, doesn't he? Could we see him at KTM next to Maverick Vinales, who would step up from Tech 3? Then we have Valentino Rossi saying he already knows who he wants for VR46 in 2027, and they are riders that can challenge for wins and podiums every single week. So could we see the wily Italian throw a monkey wrench into the whole thing by luring over a Pedro Acosta, or a Jorge Martin, or a Pecco Bagnaia? Or maybe even a rookie wonder boy like David Alonso, or World Superbike's Nicolo Bulaga? Yeah, so I hope that clears everything up. Now it's time for our Throttle Sauce social media saucy clip of the week. This week's clip comes from Instagram user Artem Savalov, who's doing cone drills on his Suzuki GSX-R and getting it wrong a lot more than he's getting it right. I actually appreciate him keeping it real, and I feel your pain, bud. So that does it for this week, and as always, let us know what you think of any of the stories we've covered, and make sure you like, follow, share, subscribe, mash all the buttons so you stay up to date with everything Throttle Sauce. If you're in the business of motorcycles and have a press release we need to see, or you're a rider with a saucy clip you think deserves to be featured here, hit us up with an email at pressreleases@throttlesauce.com. And until next time, that's all the sauce.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the car, yeah, hold my beer for a minute.